Our grandparents lived off the grid using tricks that are technically illegal today, and they still work. From home-brewed fuel and backyard butchering to handmade currency and outlawed water systems, 8 of these methods once kept American families fed, powered, and independent until regulations quietly shut them down. Some were banned for taxes, others for safety, and at least one simply because the government did not want the competition. Let's start with the one trick that turned a copper pot and a bag of corn into cold, hard cash. Number 1. Appalachian moonshine stills turned a copper pot, a sack of corn, and a wood fire into the most notorious cash crop in the hills. In the 1930s and 1940s, families across Appalachia built their own stills from half-inch copper tubing and a salvaged water heater, hiding the coil under a log, or burying the whole rig to keep the thump quiet. A 35-gallon still could run off 1.5 pounds of wood per gallon, yielding 10 to 15 gallons of 60% whiskey on a single cook. The build? Cost hovered around $150 in Depression-era dollars, but each untaxed gallon fetched $5 to $10 in local sales, enough to net a family $150 to $300 a year, more than some saw from the bank. After Prohibition ended, the 1935 Federal Excise Tax Act made any unlicensed distilling a federal crime, and the Treasury's Alcohol Tax Unit sent revenuer agents to raid, seize, and smash hidden stills. A photo from Mingo County, West Virginia, shows 2 copper boilers and a coiled condenser laid out on the grass, evidence of a midnight bust. John Red McCoy, a Monroe County deputy, remembered that they would hide the copper coil under a dam, run the mash until the night fire died, then pour the spirit into mason jars. The revenue men never knew until the night they blew the still up. Today, small batch whiskey is legal only with a federal permit and strict state licensing, but the old-time know-how still lingers in family stories and backwoods clearings. In second place, the Great Plains wood gas producer stands as a wartime workaround that let farmers keep tractors and trucks running when gasoline vanished from the pumps. During World War II, the War Production Board authorized gasifier kits, steel drums, and piping that turned firewood into a flammable gas, piped straight into the carburetor. A 1943 conversion kit cost $45, about $750 today, and could push a tractor roughly 35 miles on a cord of seasoned wood. Farmers accepted a 10 to 15% drop in horsepower, but for many, it was the only way to bring in the harvest. The official directive, WPB Circular 46, made these setups legal as long as the fuel shortage lasted. After the war, the market for wood gas dried up, and by the 1970s, new EPA emission rules banned unregistered gasifiers outright. What started as a government-sanctioned lifeline became another outlawed innovation, remembered now, mostly in old extension bulletins and family stories. As Marlene Jensen, granddaughter of a Nebraska wheat farmer, put it, "When the gas cans ran dry, we built a gasifier on the tractor." The wood smoke engine chugged the fields for harvest. Number 3 on our list, raw milk dairies in Wisconsin once anchored rural life with a ledger and a handshake. Before mandatory pasteurization, small farms milked 50 cows in low-roofed barns, selling 12,000 gallons a year, straight from the bulk tank. A gallon of raw milk cost just 18 cents in 1934, about $3.60 in today's money, covering feed, labor, and upkeep. Neighbors picked up glass bottles at the farm gate, trusting the cool of a cellar to keep milk fresh for 2 days. The numbers penciled in farm ledgers proved the system's viability, with receipts and expenses tracked down to the penny. But the tide shifted in 1947, when Wisconsin's health code, Wisconsin Statute Section 97.24, made pasteurization mandatory for all milk sold to the public. The state argued it was a matter of safety, citing outbreaks of milk-borne illness. Farmers who resisted said the law gutted their margins and erased a way of life. Margaret Huber, who sold raw milk in the 1940s, recalled, "We boiled the milk, but it lost the flavor we grew up with. The board said it was a health issue, but we saw it as a government overreach." Today, raw milk survives through tightly regulated herd share programs, or by sending milk to a licensed pasteurizer, but the old, neighborly trade, fresh from the cow, ledger in hand, is a memory pressed between the pages of a family account book. Number 4. Texas Hill Country. Rain catch cisterns carved out a stubborn kind of water independence beneath the limestone. In the early 1960s, families in Travis County poured concrete tanks, 5,000 to 10,000 gallons apiece, right under their homes. Every inch of rain off a metal roof meant up to 27,000 gallons per acre could be captured, filtered through a layer of sand, and pumped to the kitchen by hand. The going rate in 1963 was $150 for each 1,000-gallon slab, about $3,300 in today's money. But the savings on water bills ran $200 to $300 a year, a real margin in a drought-prone place. It all changed with Travis County Ordinance Number 17, the ban of 1963 that outlawed new private cisterns, blaming mosquitoes and the threat to aquifer rights. The county minutes record a heated debate, and the local paper ran the headline, "Cistern Ban Sparks Outcry." Earl Dusty Miller, a retired surveyor, remembered, "We'd fill the cistern every spring and never paid the water bill. The county said it was stealing from the aquifer." These days, Texas law allows small, registered rainwater systems, but the era of the big underground tank, quiet, off-grid, and unmetered, is mostly history. Number 5. The New England ice house and root cellar brought winter's chill into the heart of summer. Every January, families took to the pond with handsaws, cutting thick blocks of ice, sometimes yielding 3,000 tons per acre. These blocks, packed in sawdust and stacked in a timbered ice house, slowly melted away, losing about 12% of their weight each month in the early storage season. The cold from that ice seeped into the root cellar below, holding the temperature steady at 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Potatoes and carrots lasted 6 to 9 months. Canned goods kept safe from the heat, and the family larder stayed full through July. A 1928 trade journal measured the melt and proved the method's reliability, while patent US 1,876,945 laid out the classic insulated design. But as electric refrigeration spread, and the 1938 New Hampshire Public Health Act required commercial ice testing, small-scale ice harvesting faded away. Helen Whitman remembered that they would cut the ice with saws, load it onto sleds, and shove it into the house, and that it kept the pantry cold all summer. Today, solar-powered fridges and prefab cellars keep the tradition alive, but the memory of hauling pond ice lingers in New England's bones. Number 6. Pacific Northwest wooden nickel scrip turned a shortage of cash into a homegrown currency that baffled both the banks and the Treasury. In 1931, Hood River, Oregon, printed 1,200 wooden nickels, each stamped with a 5-cent face value, good for groceries, grain, or a haircut at the barbershop. Local ledgers tallied up $60 worth of these tokens in circulation, and merchants redeemed every last nickel at par. The scheme ran on trust and desperation, keeping the local economy afloat when dollars were scarce. But the government took notice. In 1935, Treasury Circular 1335 landed like a thunderbolt, banning private scrip and declaring it a threat to federal money. After that, IRS Section 61 made any barter instrument taxable income, and the Hood River Ledger closed for good. George Alvarez, who helped print the tokens, remembered, "When the bank ran dry, the store printed wooden nickels. It felt right until the Treasury sent us a notice." Today, local currencies like the Seattle dollar or USDA-backed farmers market coupons try to capture that same spirit. But the age of the wooden nickel, when a town could mint its own money, belongs to another era. Number 7. North Carolina backyard hog butchering marked the end of the homegrown meat cycle each fall. Families raised a sow through the summer, then turned out 150 pounds of pork and 30 pounds of lard from a single backyard slaughter. The lard, rendered in a brick kettle over open fire, was strained and cooled in tin cans, enough for biscuits, soap, and frying for a year. In 1965, a pound of lard cost just 20 cents, while pork brought 30 cents, so a single hog could save a family nearly $300 a year. The Foxfire book describes the ritual: a sharp knife, a bone saw, and a kettle big enough to fit a child. But in 1967, the Federal Meat Inspection Act expanded, making it illegal to sell or barter any home-butchered meat without USDA inspection. The law drew a hard line between family tradition and public safety, pushing backyard butchering into the shadows. Ella Bennett, who rendered lard for 50 years, said, "After the law changed, we could only keep it for our own table." Today, USDA approved on-farm slaughter is allowed for personal use, but the era when a neighborhood could share a hog and a kettle is mostly gone, pressed into memory by the weight of regulation. And finally, in first place, the Heritage wind-powered grain mill stands as the signature symbol of off-grid resilience. Rising 40 feet above the prairie, its 20-foot sails caught any wind above 8 miles an hour, turning a central shaft that drove heavy stone millstones. With a steady breeze, these mills could grind 200 pounds of wheat an hour, enough to feed a family and supply neighbors, all without a single watt from the grid. In 1914, a Fairbanks Morse windmill sold for $120, about $3,200 today, and the investment often paid for itself in a single season of flour savings. Patent US 1,953,211 laid out the blueprints, and county bulletins tracked the savings down to the dollar. But after the Rural Electrification Act of 1935, the push for grid power swept across the Midwest, and by 1947, any wind generator over 50 kilowatts needed a federal license. The old towers fell silent, their sails replaced by humming wires. Tom Windy Hargrove remembered that when the wind turned the sails, you could hear the stone grinding like a heartbeat of the farm. Today, modern micro-wind turbines, small enough to dodge federal licensing, offer a legal path back to self-reliance, but the sight of a wooden tower spinning in the prairie wind remains a testament to what rural America once built for itself. Across all 8 forgotten tricks, one pattern stands out. Self-reliance gets regulated out of reach, not out of usefulness. These old methods still work because they are built on resourcefulness, not convenience. In a world that keeps tightening the rules, practical know-how remains the last real freedom. What would you bring back?